Hi, this is Sue with Irreversibly Moi and Articulated Play. I'm thrilled to sit down today with mixed media artist extraordinaire, Jodi Ohl. Jodi, welcome.
Hi, Susan. Great to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely. So glad to have you. You are one of my favorites, so I'm particularly thrilled to have you and sit down and talk with you today. So let's get started. We'll jump right in. Why don't you tell us a little bit about you?
Well, of course, my name's Jodi Ohl, and I'm from Aberdeen, North Carolina. I'm originally from Western New York, kind of close to Buffalo. And I've been a mixed media artist since probably around 2006, 2007. And prior to that, some people may know my background, but believe it or not, I was a bank manager for 10 years. Right before I left, I was working for Wells Fargo, Wachovia, and I started off with journaling and collage, and started teaching online with creative workshops. And I was telling my students this weekend when I was teaching that, when you fall in love with somebody, you just can't stop thinking about that person. You can't, your life starts to revolve around that love of your life. Well, art became that love of my life. And I knew, even though I was a bank manager at the time, when I started, working in mixed media and painting, that was my love, that was my passion. And I just knew, even though it was a 360 or 180 degrees from what I was doing, I just had to make it happen somehow. So I've been fortunate. This is going into my 5th year of working for myself full time. And right now we're sitting in my outside studio that a friend of mine actually owns the studio, and then another artist and I rent a space here. We have a workshop and a gallery. And so besides doing my own painting, I travel around the country and I teach and I write for magazines on a freelance basis, and have some work in galleries, and just really just enjoying what I'm doing right now. So I dabble in a little bit of everything, but really painting is my big mojo right now.
Wonderful. Well, as you know, I'm familiar with your work and I love your style. But how would you describe your style if someone had not seen any of your work before?
I would say for the most part, I really have a couple different styles, but I think what I'm mostly known for is my fun, colorful, whimsical, illustrative paintings. So I do use a lot of mixed media, but it's more so in the different mediums like paint, collage, drawing mediums, inks, and stuff like that. And usually they're very, I'm not gonna say cartoonish, but they're very whimsical in nature and uplifting or funny. And then I do have a new side of me that's been kind of developing over the last couple of years, where I'm working in very colorful abstracts with full of texture. So, but definitely, hopefully when people see my work, they think of happy, uplifting, empowering type of work. So.
Absolutely. Your work is always so colorful, and it is always evokes a smile.
Thank you. And anytime I try to change my color palette, like if I go a little bit more muted or darker, they're like, "Are you okay? Is there something going wrong?" Like mentally, I'm like, like a suicidal or something. My family's like, no, it's like, girls entitled to change their shoes every once in a while, and you get into those moods. But I would say like 90% of my work is more colorful in nature.
Right. What advice would you give to someone who's just starting out, whether it's just getting interested in creating art or whether it's someone who wants to take their art to the next level?
Yeah. Well, I think the best advice anybody can give you is just keep practicing it. And, I think that so often we try to compare ourselves with other people. And so not to compare, but, really hone your own skills by practicing all the time. Take classes with people that you admire. But not really compare yourself to other people, because everybody's on a different phase of the journey. But you have to roll up your sleeves and put the work in. There's nothing. You could take 100 classes, and if you don't take anything you learn from those classes and put them to application, it's not really going to do you any good. So
substitute for experience.
Yeah, and don't believe that. Like, there's obviously certain materials that's going to make your job easier, but just because you buy golden paint doesn't mean you're going to be a master painter. You have to learn how to use it. You have to learn how to apply it. Yeah, definitely, put the work in and just stay dedicated, stay committed, and keep learning. And for those that are learning, who want to take their art to the next level as far as business wise, you really have to treat your art as a small business, because that's what it is. And it's not just like playing in the studio all day. You really have to, put that business person's hat on many times a day, and kind of get yourself into a routine of growing your fan base, growing your newsletter base. A lot of people are like, oh, I don't like social media, or can't handle. There's so many things to pay attention to. You don't have to do everything, but you should do some things. And really, we are blessed in this day and age as artists that we have so many opportunities that it'd be a shame, and they're low cost. Not to say that everything's free, but to take advantage of it just because it overwhelms us. Like, we don't have to rely on galleries to make a living anymore. We have the world is wide open to us as artists. So take advantage of it and learn those skills as a business person as much as you learn your craft as an artist. So just a few.
You don't have to master every one of them. If you're afraid of social media, just use Facebook or just use Instagram and start with that to get your feet wet. So that's great advice.
Yeah, absolutely.
What inspires you to create? When you sit down in your studio and you're ready to create a new piece, what inspires you?
I think really it's about relationships and about connections. A lot of times I think about situations that have happened in my life, or things that I imagine, or things that I want to happen. And a lot of times I just kind of imagine these scenarios in my head, and you try to get into that place. So if I'm creating my abstracts, it definitely is just kind of going back in time or going into the future of, something I want to manifest or someplace I want to be. If I'm doing my whimsical stuff, for the longest time I was doing the cityscapes or houses, and I used to use places that I lived or have visited as like inspiration. So, I mean, really there could be anything. It could be a song that inspires me. A color palette I could have found in a dress shop, or a decorative magazine.
Mm-hmm.
So I think just being open to different things, but I think for the most part, a lot of things are, really the connections that I've developed, or relationships, or, just some different scenes that have happened in my real life or my imagined life.
Do you keep a sketchbook or a file for ideas that you have or you come across?
Yeah, I do. I keep a sketchbook. I keep multiple journals. I love journaling, and I keep a sketchbook, a doodle book. I'm not really, I have a few friends that are really big into vision boards, and I keep saying I'm going to do one. I haven't really cut out magazines and put that into journals, but I will do things like phrases, quotes, things that will, trigger something in my head, color palette, so that I want to, recreate, not forget. So that's more along how I journal.
So talking about journals, do you do mostly written journaling or art journaling? And would you do, say, what you create on a canvas? Would you do something like that in your journals, or is your journaling different from your paintings?
Yes, yes and no. I probably do a little bit of a combination of both. Where my journal is really more of a relaxing tool that I use, and so like I always have it with me when I'm painting. And then in the evening, I'll add to it, like I'll doodle or add collage. But so many times, like things that I come up with in my journal will translate into paintings that I do. It could be color palettes that have come along the way, like little sketches. I know there's a few journal pages I've had recently that not only translate into paintings, but translate into classes I've done.
Okay,
So
cool.
you just never know when the inspiration is going to hit. So I do, yeah. I mean, they're definitely a valuable tool. And I used to think they were a waste of time, and I was, spending too much. If I spent too much time, I'm like, oh, my journal's not going to pay my mortgage. I need to get busy and get paid. And I think we forget as an artist that not everything that we do, like I guess I'm trying to think of a way to phrase this. Like I guess if a painting, obviously I can try to sell, but like don't negate the power of just filling your well as an artist. And not everything may not be immediate income or translate into a physical, tangible sale item that you can, put in a gallery or wherever. But like the time that you take to fill the well, to read, to, just kind of do whatever that relaxes you is so important as an artist too, because you can get burned out so quickly if you don't do those things.
Absolutely. It's part of the self-care. And that's something that we talk about a lot on my website is self-care. And if you don't take care of you first, you can't take care of anyone else, be it your business, your family, your whatever it is. So absolutely. And not all the art you create is for public consumption. Some of it's just for you.
Yeah, to get your feelings out, to process things. And yeah, absolutely. Self-care is so important. And I'm finding it more and more, important, as I'm doing this full time, and, I think my first couple of years I was running 24/7. I used to be like a badge of honor, like, oh, I work 7 days a week and 12, 14 hours a day. And I just I felt like I needed to do that all the time. And now I'm finding that, I need to create boundaries for myself and take more time to, just relax. It's still hard, believe me, because it's hard to say no to things.
Oh,
but,
yeah.
But, if you don't pace yourself and do that self-care and take time off, you become, you don't have as much to give, like you said earlier, and that's important.
And I think you lose some of the joy in the creating process.
Right. Yeah. If it's not joyful, if you dread going into the studio because you're just so worn out and, feeling uninspired, then, that's, you're losing your, I'm never really uninspired, but when I'm feeling like I can't do it for whatever reason, it's usually that I'm tired, and that's really the basis of any sort of block that I have,
Absolutely. So as far as your journals go, do you bind your own journals, or are there journals out there on the market that you prefer to use?
I do junk journals, so I've made several of those, but really the journal that I've been using mostly is a Dilutions journal. I have a ton of those.
Me too.
Yeah, I really love it.
It's a small addiction for me. I have every size and the black and the craft.
I don't have the black one yet, but it's Jan, the girl that owns the studio. She has them here. I've been looking, and I'm like, I think I need to buy it. But another good one that it's not quite as pricey, but still really good is the Strathmore Mixed Media Journal, and that was I really like the paper in that. But since I found the Dilutions journal, I've been pretty much using that exclusively.
Yeah, that was probably one of the greatest things that Diane Reevely has introduced to our little industry. So,
absolutely.
What are the top 5 tools, besides an art journal, that an aspiring artist needs to have in their arsenal?
Well, since I'm mostly a painter, I would say definitely a good brush or two. And I like actually a really big brush. I think that everyone needs to have a really good, big flat brush in their arsenal. For me, I love glazing medium, modeling paste. So that's 3.
What kind of paste?
Modeling paste is something I use all the time. Obviously, a good assortment of paints. And texture tools. I love texture tools and stencils, and those are definitely go-to things. So if I had my brushes, my texture tools, couple gel mediums like the glazing medium, the modeling paste, I'm good to go. And some paints.
Okay, awesome. That's a great list. I just jotted it down, and I think other than the glazing medium, which I use occasionally, I would have to agree with all of them. The glazing medium, I don't use it as much because I'm not as comfortable with it. So I need to take your advice from a little bit ago and practice, practice, practice.
Yeah, kind of indispensable to me, especially if you're using acrylics. It's a great way to extend your paint, and you get some really great vibrant colors by layering. And when you use too much water in your paint, it breaks it down and dulls it out. So the glazing medium keeps your paints bright, but can thin them out. So.
Now, I know that you tend toward happy colors and brighter colors, but what would you say are the colors that you tend to gravitate toward most often?
Teal, aqua colors. Love the green gold, magenta. Let's see here, what other ones are in my palette? I really love Indian yellow hue, and like Australian sienna or quinacridone. I can't pronounce it. Quinacridone, nickel azo gold. So yeah, usually like more of like the synthetic colors. I think I'm kind of I gravitate towards. But I always have white and black on my palette because I like to mix my own colors and mix it up. Another favorite color is the permanent violet dark of golden. I love that.
That's a beautiful one.
Yes.
Great choice. So as far as you mentioned that you have your gallery and that you go around teaching, do you currently have online classes that you offer?
I do. I actually have them in 2 different locations. Creative Workshops is where I started, and I have a good assortment. And I just released a new one in January called Dirty Flirty Birds. And so basically, like the grungy, funny characters is the basis of that class, and it's pretty intense. And then over on colorart.com, I feature some classes that use silk acrylics and twinkling H2Os. And so it's that's more or less like classes that feature those products, with the exception of Funky Little Cityscapes. That's on there too. So I think altogether I have had like 10 or 12 different classes, plus I've worked in a couple collaborative groups, and one coming up is 21 Secrets that I'm in for the spring semester. And I just did Creative Jumpstarts with Natalie Kalbach. So I've done a few of those, and I did Lifebook the first year, so those are always fun too.
Absolutely. Great. What are your go-to techniques, the techniques that you find yourself going back to over and over again?
Go-to techniques, probably a lot of scraping. I love scraping and sgraffito marks. Definitely using a lot of texture mediums, like the modeling paste, and even more so in my abstract pieces, I use like a lot of texture mediums, crackle paste, pumice stone. Not really sure that's really considered techniques, but tools that I use. Drips, water drips. I mean, I feel like my techniques are more like just being really loose and just being fearless in the studio, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
And
that's something that everyone's with.
Yeah, and I try not to get up, too worked up about things. If things don't turn out the way I plan, just keep on moving, keep forging through. But yeah, I think like my style and my techniques are probably a little bit more on the well, I'll say looser, but maybe some people think it's messy, style. So anything goes.
That's just your style, and I think that's what draws your fans to you, because they like that. So
yeah.
What are some artists that you admire?
Oh gosh. Well, I like a lot of contemporary artists. I think Tracy Batista was the first artist that I even was introduced to about. Her book was The Collage Unleashed, was the first book I ever bought as a mixed media artist. So definitely, I feel like a lot of my, especially earlier influences probably were, came from her styles, and love the graffiti, grunge, and stuff like that she does. So she's definitely one. Love for portraits. This is new art. Not really. She's not new, but new artist to me. She's amazing portrait artist is Alyssa Monks, and she started off doing a whole series of underwater portraits.
Oh.
And those were like, it's just amazing. You have to look up her work. And then her mom died, and she started to transform her art. She had been a caretaker for her mom, and her art got a little bit more. Oh gosh, very, very, very emotional, and not that her other paintings weren't, but it was just a little bit darker, and she's definitely grown, but she's a really great artist for portraits. Another artist I like for portraits is Michael Shabcock. He does kind of like a surreal kind of portraits, and then back to the grungy stuff. Love Jesse Reno, of course. So
great, and I'll be sure to get the spelling on these and make sure that I include links. So. Yeah. So that our readers can find some of their works that you're talking about. Great. So do you have any products on the market now? We talked a little bit about your classes and your gallery, but what about products? Have you worked with companies to develop products?
Well, I don't know if you consider this a product, but I did just do 4 DVDs for Cloth Paper Scissors / Northlight books. And those just came out in October, and hopefully I'll do some more this year or next year. Really excited. Just wrapped up my manuscript for Northlight. I have a book on abstracts coming out at the end of this year.
That's exciting.
Yeah, it's very exciting, and I'm really excited about it because it's not a hoity-toity abstract book. It's a lot of influences are the abstracts that I do, but I really kind of walk you through like the different steps to get like the textural effects and how to put things together, and there's a lot of step outs in there, plus lots of inspiration, and so I'm really excited about that. And so that's coming out the end of this year, and I am working with Stencil Girl, and I'll hopefully have some stencils out at the end of summer or beginning of summer. Mary Beth and I just talked last month, and as soon as I can get my act together, we'll start working together on that. And Kristen too with rubber stamps. We definitely have something in the works for rubber stamps too that will be coming out hopefully before our classes together this September. So really a lot of things were on hold that I wanted to do because I was working on the book.
Right.
So,
oh, how exciting.
That's done.
We'll be whetting our artistic appetites for quite some time.
Yeah.
Well, my next question you kind of answered already, and what's next for you? Maybe there's something out there that you don't already have in the works that you'd really like to do someday?
It's funny. I was thinking about that because did you ever have like this huge goal that you wanted to do and you never thought you'd get there? And all of a sudden, like, that's kind of what my book was like. Like, I really, I had no idea that this would all come together. For me, it feels like it's relatively soon, but even though I've been, working as an artist for a while, and after I handed in that manuscript, it was almost like a little bit of a grieving process. Like, oh my gosh, like, what's next?
Right.
And like, I'm not ready to do another book because it's like kind of like giving birth to a baby. I need a little bit of breathing space before I can go through that again. It was amazing process. I'm so blessed to have it, but I need to kind of percolate some new things before I do that. So as far as
it sounds like God or the universe have been opening other doors for you, though, between the stencils and the stamps and all of those other things that are coming your way.
Yeah. So. I think like my next really goal is just to keep honing my craft, and I have a couple of techniques I'd like to learn that I know a little bit about, but I haven't really dug in. And one of that's working with cold wax and oil painting. Maybe I really don't want to be an oil painter, but I like the abstract look of oil and cold wax mixed together. I kind of got re-inspired. We went to I was teaching near Asheville this weekend, and my friend Phyllis and I went down to the River Arts District, and some really, really great in Asheville, really great cold wax painters down there and caustic painters. So even though I kind of dabbled in it, I really don't know a lot about it. So I'm going to try. That's going to be my little extra project to really learn about that.
In caustics, that's something that I have long been intrigued by. Yeah. I have dipped my toe in the water, but ultimately it just scares the wits out of me. And I think too, it's a big financial outlay to get everything you need to do that. And what if I suck at it? Or what if I absolutely hate it? So I think probably my best bet would be to find a class that I can take where things are included and check it out there. But
yeah, so you dip your toe in before you make that investment. Like, do you really like this? And I feel like that's kind of my same thing. I have so many acrylic paints, and like, do I really want to get a whole other line of paints that are, pricey? But I think, what, as an artist, if you want to continually to grow and there's something that's calling your name, you might as well try to go for it. Like, it's not the end of the world, if you mess up something. And,
Absolutely.
So what I'm thinking to do is just like start with a small palette. I'm not going to get everything in the book, just, a couple, things, and, why not? Just try it. So.
Yeah, you may find that it's your next great thing for where the direction of your art. So awesome.
Yeah, never know.
Well, before for all of our viewers today, we'll include lots of links to everywhere they can find you online, where they can find your classes, where they can follow your blog and get on your newsletter. But before we close, I want to ask you some fun tidbits.
Okay.
And they should be pain-free.
Okay.
First thing that comes off the top of your head, favorite snack food?
Ice cream. I didn't get this
My own heart.
liking carrots.
Love it. Favorite musical artist or artists?
Oh, right now, ex-ambassadors.
Oh, okay.
Like,
favorite non-art related book or book that you're currently reading?
right now I'm reading Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell.
Yep, I've read that. Good book. TV show you just can't miss?
I'm a reality show junkie. Right now it's The Bachelor. I'm not going to miss it tonight.
I'm a reality show junkie too, but I've just not gotten into The Bachelor. But, you know, give me The Voice, The Biggest Loser, Survivor, Amazing Race.
I know. I'm all there too.
I know. My DVR is my best friend. Coffee or tea?
Definitely coffee.
Me too.
Yes.
And one odd thing we probably don't know about you.
Oh, odd thing. Well, I might not know that I used to be a musician. All throughout high school, I played the flute.
Really?
Yes.
Very cool, but still artistic.
Yeah.
Well, awesome. Well, I've really enjoyed getting to know you today, and I know that our community at Irreversibly More Articulated Play will be sure to enjoy this. And thank you for your time. Can't wait to see what's next from you. And we'll stay tuned for what's happening next in the world of Jodi Ohl.
Well, thank you, Susan, for having me. It's been a pleasure, and I am so, it's been a lot of fun for me too. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.